Oh, hold on. Hold on. Copy, paste. There we go. Had to make a scuffed number 2, but if it works, it works.
Now, the exercise is going to be taking a final clip, and what we're going to be doing is framing this clip nicely and just pretty much setting it up and utilizing the various different tools and shortcuts, and of course the previous section, which we just wrapped up, the properties. So go to the resources and actually download COO26, another Sony clip, and let's drag and drop that in once you've actually downloaded it from the resources. Just like that, it's imported itself to the sequence, and what we're going to do is, instead of going up to composition and going new composition and then filling all the stuff in manually, let's do that trick that we learned a couple sections ago, and let's drag that down here into our new composition, create new composition button, and let's drag and drop that. Let's let that load up, and now let's actually just go ahead and press spacebar, and let's play this through. So the clip is me in my office coming over. I sit down, and what I do is I look at the camera and I pretty much start typing on the computer, right? Or I looks like I frame up the computer and I start typing, right? Now, of course, we don't want that whole section of me walking in, right? So let's just let the clip finish, and I think there's even a section where I walk out. But actually, first off, let's right-click the clip. Let's go up to composition settings, and let's call this comp 2. And let's also get the time codes, and let's make this 00, 00, 00, and of course 00. So it starts on 1 second and it finishes, and just like that, if we give this a play, I finish typing, I look at the screen, but then I get up and I walk away again. So first off, we want to trim the fat, right? But before we do that, let's keep up with the organization. Let's get comp 2, let's put it in comp. So let's get COO26 and let's put it into footage. So just like that, we've stayed organized, and what I want to do is I want to scroll over in the timeline to about let's have a look. So when I look back at the computer, so what I'm going to say right here is this is 11 seconds. We know this is 11 seconds because on the screen right there it says 11. So let's actually use that shortcut and press Control-Shift-D, split the clip, delete it, and let's drag and drop it over. Let's bring it to the very beginning. Then let's go away until I'm sort of pushing away from the desk. And just before I push away from the desk at, let's say maybe 9 seconds. So we know that's 9 because right there it says 9, and we can press Control-Shift-D again and chop that down. Now let's go over one frame and press N to seal it off. So we have this section now that we can press spacebar and play it through, where I'm just typing on the computer. Okay, and I'm typing on the computer, sweet, and then I sort of decide whatever I've done is done, and then I sort of put my hands away. But of course, because we've sealed it off, that N is an out point, right? So as soon as it hits the end, it just starts from the beginning again. So it kind of just seals it down, opposed to just if that wasn't there, it would just go away and turn to black, right? So let's press Control-Z to bring that back. Let's press Control-S to save what we've done so far. Now, the main thing that I want to address in this video is the fact that there's this massive space over here. So the video is not framed nicely at all. Now there's one thing we could do, which is press S to bring up the scale, and we could actually scale it in a fair bit, and then we could actually click and drag and sort of just bring it over to frame it up kind of nicer there. We could even press W to get the rotate, just maybe rotate it around, and we could frame it up nicely. We could even change it to full and start playing this through. And just like that, we've framed it up pretty nicely. However, there's one particular thing that's happened, and that is we've actually lost quality, being the fact that this is a 1080p sequence, and the clip is 1080 as well. So of course, right now this is a 159, which means that we are 59, into the actual into the quality. So for example, 100 is full quality, but if we're 100 can't fit because the dimensions are too small. So if we press Control-Z to undo that, we've lost quality because we've actually brought the clip beyond 100 scale, which means that it's actually destroying the quality and it's getting worse. So there's one thing we can do, which is press Control-Z, 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 undo this, bring it down, and we can actually go over to compositions, right click, go to composition settings, and we can actually make this a lower resolution so that our 1920 by 1080p clip doesn't have to lose any quality, but the actual framing can still be done, and we can scale it inward. So let's actually make the width 1280 by 720, which means this becomes a 720p sequence. And look at that, now we have all this extra workroom here. However, we're still keeping 1280 by 720, which means this becomes a 720p sequence. And look at that. Now we have all this extra work room here. However, we're still keeping 100 scale, which means that we're not actually destroying the quality at all. And now we can click and drag and actually frame this up here. We could even press W to get the rotate this over a bit, and actually just bring myself here so that we can press spacebar to play, and we've lost no quality. I'm typing on the screen, and we've actually framed this up super nice so that there's no big space that's over to the right hand side, which is, you know, just looking a little ugly and not very framed correctly. Overall, you know, we don't want just a ridiculous space to the side. That right there is a perfect execution of the actual rotate, of the actual scale inwards. As you see, scale is just 100, which means that we've lost no quality. We've toned it down to a 1280 by 720 sequence, but the actual clip itself is 1920 by 1080, which means we've got more to work with. It's not fitting the entire screen, so we actually have more work room, and that's why recording in a higher resolution than the actual project you're going to be editing is a very smart strategy every single time. Now 720p is a little bit played out. In the future, you know, we'll be getting into 4K sequences and actually bringing 4K footage and then using that in a 1080p sequence, which means that, you know, we're still dealing with 1080p quality, which is sort of a baseline in 2019 and 2020. And we're still able to have that workroom because we're dealing with 4K footage. But that's all coming up next. The 720p example here of framing up a clip nicely is just a nice little exercise to get us all warmed up and adjusted to the actual program. Right there, that is the end of the basics section. I just wanted to do this final exercise to explore framing a shot and also deep dive into the actual properties down here a little bit, or briefly dive, not really a deep dive, and overall just further confirm how to create a composition and how to overall go through everything that we've covered so far in the basics section. We got some amazing stuff coming up next for you guys in the Adobe After Effects Master Class course. I'll see you guys there. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Adobe After Effects Masterclass course. We're getting into the shapes and solids section, and this right here is going to be showing off all the different shapes. So how to actually create shapes, and it's going to be a very straightforward process because we've already walked through the shape tool, and I'm going to be breaking down a few different ways of how we can actually use this particular tool to make custom shapes. But first off, let's make a new composition. Let's go up here to composition. Let's go to new composition, and let's actually just go ahead and make a probably a 30 frame a second sequence. Let's change this to 1920 by 1080, so we're dealing with a 1080p sequence, and probably just turn this up to 30 seconds because why not? 30 seconds is decent. And let's go ahead and press OK. And just like that, we've loaded up into a brand new sequence. Well, you guessed it, the simplest way to obviously make a shape is to go up here to the shapes and solids section, right? Or the shapes section rather. And what we do is be able to select between these 5 different shapes. We've got the basic rectangle tool, which of course we could simply create a rectangle, or if we hold shift, it locks the proportions, and we're able to create a perfect square, which is the exact same dimensions, you know, vertically as it is horizontally. And again, you do that by pressing shift, but holding shift actually. So this is me not holding shift. I'm fully able to make whatever size I want. If I wanted maybe a bar at the top or something, or whatever the case may be, but as soon as I hold shift, it locks the proportions, and it's struggling to load it for a second because obviously we're on full screen. It locks those proportions, and we're able to scale it in and out, of course. Now I'm actually just going to drop this down to probably about quarter so we don't run into any more lag issues. After Effects, it can definitely be an extremely laggy program sometimes, especially when you're doing stuff a little bit fast, where, you know, if I was going maybe a little bit slower, it wouldn't have done, but, you know, the fast movements sometimes can spike up that lag. But that right there is the rectangle. We'll go ahead and delete that, and we'll go and click and hold, and we can get the rounded rectangle tool. And just like that, this is more or less the same. However, the edges, if we click off, you notice have a rounded edge to them. So if we put this on full so we can see the full situation, press H to get the hand tool, come up here, there is now a rounded edge to it. It's not so hard on the sides of it, and it's pretty much just a little bit smoother, right? So this, for example, could be a nice effect for something maybe like a lower third, for example. I'm just going to drop that down to about third. And you know, you could have a nice little rounded lower third. We'll be getting to creating lower thirds and all those extra little graphics later on. Let's go ahead and just delete that layer one more time. Go up here and go to ellipse tool. Ellipse tool is of course an ellipse, but again, if we wanted to turn the ellipse tool to a circle tool, all we'd have to do is, you guessed it, hold shift. And just like that, we are able to create a perfect circle. And we are actually able to create a perfect circle. And of course, I'll be getting extensively in a second into actually how to you know, customize these shapes even further going forward in terms of colors, in terms of strokes, whatever the case may be. Let's delete that and move on to the fourth tool, which is the polygon tool. Again, we can create a polygon right here by simply clicking and dragging in. However, if we want to make it directly in the center, let's put our cursor in the center. And just like that, we've been able to create a polygon. Very, very simple, very straightforward. And we can then delete that and use the final tool, which is the star. The star is going to become extremely handy at the end of this section because we've got a phenomenal exercise lined up. It's going to be super interactive once we start exploring how to do 3D shapes. And, you know, the star tool is going to be a very, very fun exercise that we're going to utilize. But just like that, we've explored how to create all the basic shapes that are available to you in After Effects. Now, of course, these are the basic shapes. Super emphasis on the basics because custom shapes are something we're going to be getting into much heavily next, and custom shapes are really where the fun starts to happen. But of course, the basic shapes are totally easily utilized throughout the course of you know, any project you're working in. And a lot of the time, maybe you're doing motion graphics or whatever the case may be, the shapes will definitely be relevant to you. But say we got a shape and say, you know, right now our default color is set to green. As we can see up here, the fill color is set to green. But if we wanted to change that, the process is beyond simple. All we do is simply click the fill color and our actual color wheel pops up, our color selector, if you will. And of course, we could just scroll between the various different colors of the rainbow and we can see the actual shape start to change live on our screen next to us as we rotate, or as we scroll rather, through the various different colors. Now I'm just going to go for probably like a maybe kind of like a purpley to kind of match After Effects, right? So maybe kind of like a dark purple or whatever, just to kind of keep in tune with that Adobe After Effects kind of branding, if you will. Well, you know, it's not ideal, but it's semi close to it. And another thing I want to show you is the stroke. So a stroke is more or less an outline, right? So at the moment, you see it's on 0 pixels and it's white. However, if we simply start toning up those pixels, we start to see a stroke appear. And again, to change that color, all we do is click it, and we get the color wheel, and we can simply scroll up through it. And for example, say we wanted to go about here, and we wanted to get that other color that's part of the After Effects kind of scheme, which is kind of like a little bit lighter purple, right? We could actually navigate over there and create a little bit lighter of a purple. And just like that, we have actually been able to create a shape which we've customized the fill layer, we've customized the actual stroke, and overall, we have been able to you know, create different shapes. And that right there, guys, is the shape tool, how to create a variety of different shapes. We're going to be coming back in a second with how to create custom shapes. I'll see you there. Alright guys, welcome back to the Adobe After Effects Masterclass course. We're continuing on with the shapes and solids section. This is how to create custom shapes. So pretty much right now we've explored the basic shape tool. We go up here, we click and hold, and we got 5 different options, of course. Now there's other options within those options, like we know the ellipse tool can create an ellipse, or if we hold shift, it can create a circle. And by the way, whatever the last specifications of the previous shape you created, when you create a new shape, it will match those specifications. So for example, this new shape, if we wanted to have no stroke to it and we maybe wanted to make it just white, we just simply have to change that up there. But let's go ahead and delete that, and I want to show you guys how to create custom shapes. Custom shapes is going to be something that I think we should make a new composition for. So let's go up here to composition, go to new composition, and let's match the exact settings that we did for the last one, because I think it works nicely. Let's press OK, and just to keep in fashion, let's actually highlight these two these two compositions. Let's drag them to comps. And in fact, I think I might go ahead and rename this folder to compositions.
Did I miss a composition? No, I thought I missed something. No,
the full name there. Why not? And the way we're actually going to create custom shapes is through the pen tool. The pen tool right here is something that is really, really useful for creating custom shapes because we can draw whatever shape we want to. I'm going to start with a shape that we all kind of roughly understand how to create. I would hope so, at least. We've seen them enough that I could probably safely assume you'll be able to create them. And that would be an arrow. So let's actually start by drawing an arrow. What we want to do is make a point here, for example, Then let's come down and hold shift to create a perfect line, because if we don't hold shift, we could create a diagonal line, for example. But if we come roughly down here, even if we're not perfectly in line and we hold shift, it'll create a perfect line down. And in fact, I think I might just Control Z to undo that. Come back over, create another line just to make it a little smaller, and come all the way over here, hold shift again to create a perfect angle, and you see it starts to draw that shape for us. Now let's go down here, click, go sort of over here as close as we can, and maybe drag that in a little bit. We can change the position of these at any time. Then let's go over here, create that next line, come down here, click again, and let's actually go ahead and join them off by doing that. Now, you notice that that's not an absolutely perfect arrow, but we've definitely drawn a custom shape based on the simple fact that we, don't have access
close.
Click here, part of the 5.
Shit, mine's actually kind of close. Yeah, sure. I'll take it.
Default shapes they give us, arrow is not one of them, right? So I guess we could try and create one by putting a rectangle and then maybe putting another rectangle and kind of rounding it off or whatever, but it would just be a little bit weird, and overall combining different shapes to create one final shape is not the ideal. The ideal was definitely just to simply select the pen tool and actually just draw a custom shape. Now alternatively, right, we could actually create a layer, new layer, and a solid, and say we wanted a solid that was maybe a blue or like a cyan type of light blue. Create that, and that creates a solid layer. Now on top of that solid layer, we can, of course, simply use the pen tool to chop something out of this, and this would actually be creating a mask. So of course, we can actually mask out shapes inside of other solid layers, and if we actually press M, we notice that we have a mask here, and the mask has sort of formed this particular shape right here, despite the fact that we didn't necessarily create that from scratch. We simply just masked in on an existing solid layer. But I think a much more effective way is to do the actual here, I'm just going to bring this down here, bring this up here, and make an example. A more effective way to do it is with the pen tool, because the cyan shape layer, as you see right here, right? This particular shape right here is not color customizable. So we've created a solid, and once we've created that solid, that color is locked in place, unless we were to use, for example, an effect to actually change it. But if we delete that, we notice that the shape layer at all times remains customizable. So if we decide, you know what,
hold up. Is it Control I? Nope. Control U? Control Y? Okay, so this is something I find really confusing about what he just said. Which he said you know the color is locked in place, but it's I don't. Yeah, I was something I was curious about. Hold on. Close some of these comps. Comp. Close. Alright, yeah, I don't think you can actually change it, because Control Y just brings up solid settings, which I thought applied to the same cyan solid, but this is like a completely different one. Because here, if you change it to like white, for example, and click OK, then it's a completely different solid. So I guess he's right on that. That's something I was really confused about. Makes more sense now.
It's not to my liking. We could actually click the color wheel and maybe, for example, choose a green if we wanted to. And at the same time, we could go up here to stroke and say we wanted a, white stroke. We could tone up a white stroke on there. And at any time, of course, each one of these points as well is customizable. So if we actually zoom in right here, we notice that it's not a perfect line right here. So we maybe want to bring that down a little bit to make it a little bit more perfect. Maybe bring this down a bit so that the pointy arrows are kind of similar, right? As similar as we can get. And just like that, we've adjusted our shape through the actual different edit points, which are very obvious because they're the points that we actually drew with our pen, and we can actually also scale that in and out at any time And just like that, we have a shape which is you know, remains customizable at all times. And that right there is the power of creating custom shapes in Adobe After Effects. Alright guys, welcome back to the Adobe After Effects Masterclass course. We're continuing on the shapes and solids section, and we're going to be doing shape properties now. Shape properties are cool because we can take these shapes, even these custom shapes, or the default basic shapes created with the, you know, the 5 different options that they give us right here, and we can take these shapes and further transform them. So we are actually going to open up the properties. Now, if you remember from the clip properties, it's the exact same way. We navigate to this little, you know, side arrow. We click it, and it becomes a drop-down arrow. Then we click the contents, and we find the shape 1. And before we get into transform, we're going to actually show off the actual shape property. So if we open up the shape 1, and then we open transform, we have all these different options right here that directly relate to the actual shape itself. So first off, anchor point. Anchor point is this little central, you know, kind of target right here. And of course, we know that if we were, you know, to do adjustments to this, everything happens around this center point. So it's pretty good to have that in the absolute center. Now, the absolute center would be between these 2 dots right.
Yeah, for this, use press Y. Alright, easy way. Press Y, Control Home, Control Shift Home, Control Alt Home. What was it? Control Shift Home. Shift Home, Control Shift Home. This is not working. Shift Home, Control Alt Shift. What the fuck? Come on, man. Come on. Control Shift. No, now it's just taking the piss. This worked fine yesterday. Yeah. Control Home and Control Alt or Control Shift Home should work. Centralize it, but some reason it's not working here.
Here, and these 2 dots right here, because that is the absolute center. So we notice that it's actually off. Now we can hold Y, which is our tool to actually use to change the center point. And as you look down there in the bottom left, as we move this around, the center point and the position, of course, changes. So we can bring that to the absolute center, as central as we can sort of guesstimate it, and we drop that right there. So, or we, yep. We might want to actually do this manually, because for some reason that wasn't working out. But if we actually do it manually right there, which actually worked out a little bit better because we got to showcase 2 different ways of doing it, we can drag that to the center, and just like that, we have a centered shape. Awesome. Next up is of course, the position. Position can be manually altered by simply moving those around by that, or of course, if we're in our all selection tool, we can click and drag, and we can simply move that around. And you notice the properties start to move around in the bottom left corner based on the fact that we're altering the position of the shape. Awesome. Next up is scale. Scale is very, very simple when the tick is ticked, the constrained proportions. What this means is anything we do to one axis, the other axis will replicate. So this is perfect for scaling something perfectly in, because we could have it, you know, tiny and then scale it in, and it would kind of scale both axes in perfectly. However, say we wanted to shrink or maybe extend this particular shape, what we'd have to do is untick the constrained proportions, and then we would actually be able to just scale in one particular dimension or one particular angle, if you will, and we'd be able to bring in, for example, horizontally. And just like that, if we wanted to make a longer shape, we could do that and maybe drag it over and have it maybe filling the screen. Or, for example, if we wanted to take the or wanted to tweak rather the vertical proportions, we could maybe make a skinnier arrow or a nice big fat arrow that maybe, you know, covered the entire screen, for example. And all of that has happened through the constrained proportions. And if we tick them back on, now we've changed the shape size, but if we turn it back on, now that it's kind of locked in this new size, we can actually just go ahead and alter it altogether. Now, another cool one is the skews.
Ooh, shit, that's actually something new. I did not know about the constrained proportions. Ooh, okay. That's interesting. So this is pretty much like using shift and then like downscaling something. So it affects both sides. But in here you could just God damn, you can just change it however you want. That's actually pretty neat. Not going to lie. Yeah, good to know. You can also change it like the way it's facing, horizontal, vertical, flip it. Good to know. Good to know.
Of a lifelike, or just add a little bit more life to it. I think that's what I mean to say by being able to kind of make it diagonal, for example. So we could actually have an arrow that skews over like that, and maybe we want to get our pen tool and actually extend out the arrow a little bit, and maybe bring that one up a little bit, bring that one down, and just like that, we can have an arrow that, for example, shoots out a little bit and is a little bit maybe less traditional, for example. Now this is very, very cool. Or maybe something like this, right? Where we're able to create this sort of like super pointy arrow effect right here, and all of that is done through the skew. It can skew either way, but of course, because we're dealing with such a big shape, we probably want to tone it down before we skew it too much. Of course, that's way too much. And just like that, we're able to add a little bit of crazy life to it. Now the skew axis is the direction in which it skews. So for example, if we press Ctrl Z and just undo all that, and just bring that right there. If we were to actually up the skew a little bit, and then maybe mess with the skew axis, we could mess with the actual sort of direction that it's skewing. So if it's skewing directly, ahead, if you will, we could maybe skew it down a little bit. Or perhaps we wanted to bring that back up a bit and skew it up, for example. And of course, all of this revolves again around the center point, the anchor point. So if we were to bring that there and skew it up, we would be able to do that a little bit more effectively if the actual anchor point was altered. So as you see right there, we're able to do a real nice diagonal one right there because the center point is down a little bit. And just like that, that is the sort of basics of the shape properties, if you will. And the same exact stuff applies to some solids as well. Of course, you've got the basic rotation. Now, rotation is perhaps one of the most obvious ones that revolves around the anchor point. So if we bring that anchor point to the center, bring this over and just shrink it down a bit so we can actually do a full rotation. If we were to actually bring the rotation up, we can rotate this arrow around in whatever way we want. And later when we get to keyframes, using the rotate to animate shapes is very, very cool indeed, because we could, for example, have maybe elements on the screen that we want to point at. Maybe there's something in the top left that we want to draw attention to, and then all of a sudden we want to bring it down to the top right and draw attention to something else. All that can be done via the rotation, which we're just press Ctrl Z to undo that. And finally, one that we know about is the opacity. Opacity can be lowered, which means that it's not on the screen, or it can be higher, which means it is on the screen. And just like that, we are actually able to, kind of change out the visibility of it. Or for example, maybe, bring it in. So for example, maybe at 2 seconds we want it visible, we could actually go ahead and have the opacity keyframe turned on, and we're going to get much more extensively into keyframes coming up. We could come to the beginning, have the keyframe off, and just like that, over the course of 2 seconds, it would fade in, given the fact that, maybe we were referring to something, and then we say, you know what, guys, have a look at the bottom right, and maybe just like that, we turn the skew up, and then we also maybe turn the skew up a little bit more. And then we actually say, say this is me doing a commentary. All right, guys, now take a look at the bottom right. And then just like that, an arrow appears directing you to actually have a look at the bottom right. And, it can be a very kind of useful, informative type of pointer situation. And that's just, an example using our arrow here. Depending on what your shape is, will depend on what you're doing. I'm just pressing Ctrl Z just to undo all these changes, just so we can get stuck with our kind of basic arrow that we had before. Drag that over here to the center, and just like that, that is the shapes and solid properties done and dusted. We're going to come back with a very fun one in a second, the shapes and solid effects. I'll see you guys there. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Adobe After Effects Masterclass course. We're continuing on the shapes and solid section. This right here is going to be shape effects. So shape effects can be accessed sort of similar to the properties, right? So essentially what we're looking for is directing your attention down to this layer right here, and we're going to be toppling on these effects to the arrow that we created, which was the first custom shape that we looked at creating. Now, with these effects, we're gonna do an exercise next, which is gonna just be super in depth. It's gonna be a great process to actually further just sink these effects into your mind. But let me just briefly show you how to get to them, and also what sort of effects I'm even talking about, right? I'm not necessarily talking about the effects and presets section over here. I'm talking about actual layer effects themselves. So let's click the drop down arrow, let's click the contents arrow, and this is our shape right here. So we kind of explored the properties, and this is kind of a more advanced version of properties. And like the most similar to this effect or to these effects that we explored was probably the skew, right? Skew enables you to, well, it's summarized by the by the name of it. It enables you to skew the actual layer that you're dealing with, right? However, these effects can be accessed, right, by going up here to add, and these are sort of more advanced versions of the actual layer properties themselves. So when we actually just click this button here, add, and it's just a simple left click, we're presented with a whole bunch of different options, right? Now, from gradient stroke up to rectangle, these are actually not the specific effects I'm talking about. The ones that I want you to actually just pay a little attention to are all the ones down here. So, for example, let's just try one out. Let's go for twist. As soon as we hit that, we notice an effect has been put onto our custom shape. And these are, of course, applicable to any shapes. It could be a custom shape, or it could just be a standard shape, like a rectangle, a round rectangle, ellipse, whatever the case may be. And also, it opens up some more options. So if we actually tick the further drop-down menu here, we know that twist number 1 has an angle and it has a center. Angle is how much the effect has actually been applied. So at the moment, it's only 10. Now, if we actually were to bump this up a bunch, we notice that now if we put it up to 40, so we've times it by 4, that's an even bigger increase right there. And if we were to just go crazy and times it up to 1,000 maybe, it kind of looks like we're being hypnotized or something like that, doesn't it? But I mean, for specific, maybe music video or perhaps even an explainer video, perhaps if you were using this as a transition to kind of transition in and then point at something, that could be pretty relevant. But overall, the effects are pretty much just self-explanatory. They're various different effects, and of course, if you want to get it gone, you could click the actual main title of it. So this is twist number 1, and we just press the delete key, which means it's gone. So if at any time you're not liking it, if accidentally you started to hypnotize yourself by turning it up all the way, you could just go over to twist number 1 and just go ahead and tap delete, and it would just reset it pretty much. So at any time you could do that. Now, I just want to show you a couple other ones because they are pretty cool. Now we're going to be doing an exercise using the repeater, and we're going to replicate a very common kind of hazard warning arrows in a second. But before we do that, let's just try a few more, right? So we got zigzag. Zigzag is kind of like a wave effect, so to speak, right? However, it's, I guess, nicer when it's maybe down here, maybe if you're animating it in and out. However, if you turn it up too high, you start to lose the shape. And overall, I mean, perhaps maybe you're doing this for something that could be applicable, but at the moment, for me, that's not very applicable. There's also the smooth version, which is a little bit more wavy, opposed to kind of the corners, which are much more harsh, if you know what I mean. Let's get zigzag gone. Zigzag, personally, it's not actually my favorite. Now, one of my favorites is the pucker and bloat. Pucker and bloat. This is an interesting one. As you see right here, it sort of deforms the shape, but it enables you to make a kind of cooler shape if you bring it back on itself, especially for an arrow like this. As you see right there, if I bring that back down, maybe even tone it back up a little bit, we can kind of make this sort of curved arrow effect, if you will. It almost, to me, looks a bit like a medieval kind of spear, if you know what I mean. And the pucker and bloat is something that's pretty useful, just to kind of add a tiny bit more detail to certain stuff. Whereas if we were doing this with the masking tool, with the actual pencil, it would be a little bit more intricate, I guess you could say, to actually do that. To do these kind of little curved areas and stuff like that. It would just be a little bit more, extra process to it. And also, if we were to tone down the actual stroke a little bit, we notice that that's actually looking relatively nice right there, and overall I think it's looking pretty cool. Maybe we're designing a banner or something like that. I can picture if the arrow kind of duplicated itself on that side as well, so if the arrow point was also on the left hand side, this would make a kind of cool banner. If you were to put some text in the middle or whatever the case may be, maybe you were making a medieval kind of piece or something like that, I could definitely see that playing into something for sure. But if I delete the pucker and bloat, a couple more that you've got. For example, you've got the round corners, which is similar to the actual round corner effect that you can do. But if we wanted to just round off whatever shape we're using a little bit, we could use it. However, round a lot of the time isn't my favorite. Sometimes I like a good round, square. Potentially it looks a little bit nice, but with an arrow like this, it's not necessarily the nicest in the world. And if you tone it all the way up, you more or less entirely
I'm about to get banned. Hold on.
looks like a tooth, to be honest. But if we delete that, we can actually go take a look at probably like a final one, maybe trim paths, whatever the case may be. Let's see what this particular one does. Interesting. So that actually will actually trim around the start to finish. Interesting. So you can set a start to finish, and you can actually have it sort of fade itself out or fill itself in, so to speak. And what it does is it follows around the actual outline of it, which could be potentially interesting. However, what I don't really like about that is instead of just cutting it off, it actually has this extender right here. But overall, that right there is a brief dive into some of the different effects, and these can be applied to absolutely anything, right? So just to explore it, just quick on a different type of example to show you what these effects might look like if we were just to make a square, and let's just go ahead and take off that other layer, right? Drag this to the middle, and we actually go ahead and get the add, maybe throw some zigzags on there, and you can have a look at what it might look like, for example, with a square. Now that looks like a relatively interesting shape that we're able to create, right? It could be something that you might like. Let's have a look at the pucker and float. Pucker and float for an actual square enables us to create that kind of nice, oh, by the look of it here, we can make this kind of 4-leaf clover type of situation, right? So I think with these effects, they're best suited to just throw them on a different, shapes, custom shapes, default shapes, whatever the case may be, and just have a look at what you can create. Because at the end of the day, that's made us a pretty convincing 4-leaf clover, and that wasn't even planned at all. I just threw it on there and just experimented, and I think that will probably be my final words to you guys to finalize the actual shape effects section, is that just actually have a little play around with this yourself, tweak around the amounts. As you see, I'm not necessarily knowing exactly what I'm going to get out of this. I'm just actually tweaking up the different effects and kind of just playing around with it and see what looks nice. And that's pretty much the moral of this of the story here is I'm showing you what to do, but the actual real power in this information is just to apply it yourself to whatever situation or specific project you're working on, and just see what works best for you and your situation. But with that being said, we're going to crack on with the Adobe After Effects Masterclass course. What's going on, guys? Well,
let me actually pause it there. Let's do exactly what he said here. Shit, where's my mouse? Because we're like 30 minutes in, so we can pause it for a bit just to actually try out some stuff. What about Kikuo? Indeed. Is it this one? Nah, not this one. I'm not feeling this one. There's a playlist here. Yeah. Alright, let's try out a few things here. Let me make sure it's not too loud. It doesn't have to be that loud for it to be heard. It's just background music. Alright, let's try rectangle. I want to try out some of these effects. That's where most of the I'd say most of the progress is gonna come from actually playing around with this shit and consistently doing it. There's no use one day just learning this and then not using the program again. Alright, so add. So from merge paths all the way up to zigzag are the different effects here. Let's see, mode, merge. What is this for? Merge. This might have something to do with different effects. I'm not exactly sure. Why did that delete everything? Unless that was everything for the effect. But let's see. Can't delete it here, so backspace. There we go. So offset paths. It's like a type of scale, but the actual shape goes over the guidelines here. Mid or join. Change around. Okay, this is bevel is interesting. It just adds more sides to it. Mid or limit. Not exactly sure what that is for. Copies. Looks like stroke, but it doesn't actually go below the, or doesn't go inside of the guidelines. It doesn't show up. Copy offset. Oh, it's actually interesting. Wait. Offset paths. If I make a bevel. Hold on. Yeah, if we put like the, I'm not exactly sure what amount changes here, but I think I have it. I think I got it. Hold on. Let's do like that. Copy offset. So you could do like a animation here with this. Like I'm trying to see. Okay, wait. Fuck, I'm stupid. There we go. I don't know why I have the video. Okay, so something you could do is like an actual animation here. Let me show y'all what I mean. So if we put it on 0, set this as the keyframe, 4 seconds. We do this. 6 seconds. This should be obviously okay. This is a bit way too slow. Hold on, like way too slow. There we go. Yeah, so as far as I can see, this really works if you want to change the outline. If you want to change the outline past the guidelines, so it's gonna stay the same shape while it's inside of the guidelines, but with this effect, the more you actually make it go outside of the guidelines, you can actually change like the outside shape. So for example, here I have it with more sides, but if I change it to here, square, if I change it to here, or round, but inside it's still gonna be that square. So that's interesting. Alright, let's try pucker and bloat, which we already saw, but yeah, you do like a 4-leaf clover, some explosion effects, make some interesting stuff, but this is, I'd say this is really situational, really specific to like your project, but you can make some very cool stuff like this, for example. Doesn't look too bad. It's very simple to make as well. It's just like dragging the mouse and you get this shape. It's not even, no, it's, I won't call it shape, it's like joint shapes. I'm gonna make another one. I'm gonna make a, holy shit, what? Alright, let's do ellipsis, because I want to do some effects with these as well. I don't think polygon, okay. Which one is this? Okay, this is the star. I put the star like right here, circle right here, squares. I mean, once I actually take away the pucker and bloat, then it'll be different, but so let me close these. Add repeater. Repeater is interesting, but we'll see that soon, like literally in the next exercise, so I'm not too worried about that. Trim paths, okay, I see. Need to get rid of the repeater effect though. Trim paths, there's an effect I don't quite remember what this is called. Like a clock effect. Yeah, it's kind of like a clock effect where it goes around the whole structure and slowly starts removing it. Which is yeah, it could be used for some stuff. Transitions mainly. See myself using this maybe for what? For like the media banners that appear, small banners on screen. That's mainly it. Don't really like it too much how it looks, but then you can also change like the endpoint, so yeah, you can play around with it. Trim multiple shapes. Not really gonna mess too much with that. That's more it's more if you know what you're doing, which I clearly don't. But that was trim paths, twists, which we saw. Doesn't look too bad. Center. You can make some crazy shit. Oh my god. Yeah, you make some crazy stuff with this. Alright, let's remove twist, add wiggle pads. Ooh, this is what the hell is this? I mean, this isn't too bad of an effect. And this is very... Hold on. Spatial. So I'm taking a look at roughly what exactly it does when I tweak with the effects, and I mean right now it's not doing anything, but that's because I'm gonna have to add it again, but without like the default effects this time. So size is very interesting because this could be a, how do I explain this? It's a very smooth distortion effect, like very smooth. This, yeah, this would definitely be helpful if you're doing, I'd say, any analog, like analog horror maybe. You could implement this because it's very, it feels random, but it's also very smooth. So stuff on a TV screen, for example, abrupt like rapid movement here, actually not even bad. Make sure I write all this stuff down. I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna work around these effects, because I'd definitely like to have them written down in case I ever need to use them, or at least like a basic understanding of what the effect does, or what I could use it for. So I can just scroll through the list and I have it, but yeah, I'll see what I do with that. Thankfully, I have these VODs, which I could always use to go back and check. It's one of the good things. So wiggle transform, let's take a look at that. It's gonna be similar to wiggle transform. Do I have to mess with the transform first? No. Alright, let's remove it. Let's add a zigzag. It's gonna be the last one here. So size definitely looks like those Mario those Mario god damn it, what are they called? Does it start with B? God, I can't remember what they're called, but yeah, those things from Mario. You'll know. You'll know if you played. You'll know. And also smoothing it out here. It's like a microchip or something. Alright. Me quickly go through effects on these. What does twist look like? Is this, yeah, what does twist look like? Ooh, I think this might be the most interesting twist. I think it might be. Yeah. Ellipsis. Unsurprisingly, the best twist. Also, program blow repeater, round corners, trim pads. Trim pads on this would actually look decent. I've done something related to it. Alright, my bad. I'm gonna switch the song here because I've listened to this way too much. Which one is this? Nope. No. No. Yeah, we can go with this one. Yeah, this trim pass on Ellipsis is actually decent. Ellipsis seems to have the best effects. Wiggle pads, well, some work better with Ellipsis than others, definitely. So wiggle pads, I don't think it was wiggle pads. I think it was actually, yeah, because wiggle transform is like broken or something. Okay, this is, huh. You can even like turn ellipses into polygonal shapes here. Not bad. Alright, let me just try out a few with the actual, with the star here. So I'll try out a zigzag, for example. And then ridges. Yeah, there's actually a lot you can do with zigzag if you're trying to make more spiky shape. Like a lot. Not even spiky, you just like this, for example. It's not as exaggerated as the other ones, or this. Okay, that's a crazy ass joint shape there. Delete the zigzag. Let's do a twist. Twist might actually be really cool with this. It's not completely central, but this does look pretty cool here. At this part. Let's do, this is a round corner. Fair enough. Fair enough. Perk and blow. Actually, I want to try out offset paths. Let's do bevel. Well, there's not too much to try out here specifically, because this is more so for like the actual animation effect and not really the shape you get from it compared to the others. Well, hold on. Alright, let's go back to the actual lesson. Which one is this? Okay, I do not like this part. Alright, hold on. And then back here. There we go. You go here.
We're going to create the hazard warning arrows. Now,
hazard warning.
By the hazard warning arrows, I'm talking about these things right here. But
we're
going to make ours yellow because traditionally the hazard warning arrows are kind of yellow, but for some reason the royalty, for example, I found was kind of dark gray. But that's absolutely fine. We're actually going to be using this right here, which is available for download in the resources, by the way. So download it in the resources, get that thing downloaded, and what we're going to do is use this as a stencil. We're pretty much going to use it as a stencil and sort of just trace out one of them, and then use the layer effects, which we just covered in the previous episode, and we're actually going to duplicate this a few different times, or I guess duplicate stands for two. We're going to triplicate it. So let's actually go ahead and download that in the resources. Let's drag and drop that over here to the
I'm gonna be using the arrow that I made for this. Actually, I guess I could download. Do I have it downloaded? How about download this? Just nope, I actually don't. All right, yeah, I'm using this arrow. Not gonna complicate it too much. It's almost the same thing here.
Right here, and we're actually just gonna go up here to composition, new composition, and press OK. This is comp number 5. What we can do is we can drag comp number 5 into compositions, and this gives us an opportunity to create a new folder. So let's actually go here to folder, and let's make a folder called graphics, and we can actually drag and drop the arrow shape into graphics. Oh, I drag and dropped it into solids, my bad. We'll close up solids and we'll drag and drop arrow into graphics. Sweet, so we've got a new folder, graphics. We're staying organized all throughout our course right here. We got solids, graphics, footage, composition, and audio. Nice and organized. I'm liking it very much. So let's open up graphics, and let's drag and drop our shape into the particular project. Now, let's press S, and let's scale this one up a little bit so that we've, we can see it nice and big. Let's turn it to full, and maybe even turn the background off, so toggle the transparency grid. Now, we want to actually sketch around this, and we only want to sketch around one because it will be a little bit time consuming to sketch around all three at the same time. But if we sketch around one, then we're actually able to triplicate it. Like I said before, I think that's probably a word, and essentially we can triplicate that using the replicate effect, or it might be I think it's the replicate effect, or the repeater effect, I believe it's called. So without further ado, let's start to sketch around this particular arrow right here. Now we want to actually just go up here to the top, click a point, and it instantly creates a shape layer. Let's go down here and actually click another point, come over here, click another point, and we're just loosely
easy.
This particular shape.
Hold on, let me.
It's a little tricky when this is created.
Actually,
so we have to kind of guess it right here, but then we can actually manually adjust it. Come up here, we've completed the shape. Now we want to turn this to yellow because it's still stuck on green based on the arrow that we created previously. So let's bring it down to around the yellowy orange kind of section, tone it up a bit, and that's probably a good yellow to me. I'm liking that. That's all right. Then we can delete whatever's behind it, and also we can tone up the stroke a little bit, and then we can actually turn the background back on. So we're left with this kind of arrow right here, and I think I wanted a little bit even more yellow than that, to be honest. So let's click it, make sure to be clicking it, bring it up a little bit, maybe tone it back up to the yellow a little bit more. So that's pretty nice right there. We've got this kind of hazard warning arrow right here, but we only got one of them. And we know that the hazard warning arrow is a kind of a triple type of thing, right? So all we have to do is go to shape, we take the drop down little arrow right there, and we go to add. And then we want to add the repeater effect. Now instantly, that creates 3 of them, as you see. 1, 2, 3. However, they sort of merged in on each other, and it is a very quick fix, but, you know, if you didn't actually know what to do, you'd be a little bit confused, and maybe you'd be put off by this effect. But all we have to do is open up the repeater properties themselves, turn the offset to probably about 1, and instantly that moves it over a little bit. But all we'd have to do right now to actually extend these out is tone the position over. And what that does is, don't worry if they go off the screen, is that actually brings it over and extends them out. And then all we have to do is actually select our outline here, which now actually isn't applicable, and just simply bring them over a little bit by dragging them over with, of course, the all selection tool. And just like that, we've created this kind of you know, hazard warning arrows, if you will. You might have a different name for these. Personally, I've seen these and would describe these as hazard warning arrows because of the fact that I've seen them just in various different video games or whatever the case may be. Just warning of hazards, pretty much. So that's my own self-imposed view on these particular shapes right here. But overall, in a matter of a couple minutes, we've been able to replicate this effect right here and create something which is a nice execution of the hazard warning arrows. And also, if we were to adjust one of them, we're adjusting all of them, by the way. So for example, if we were to actually get our pen tool and actually start to adjust one of them, it's gonna adjust every single one, because this right here is a replicate, right? So I mean, replicate, aka repeater effect, it's mirroring whatever this first one does. So if we're to adjust this outline here, which, as you see, the outline isn't even where the effect is because we got to offset it a bit, and all we have to do is adjust one of them, and all of them will actually mimic the exact adjustment of the kind of the master, if you will, over here, this kind of rough outline, which at the moment isn't even covering one of the shapes based on the offset that we have to do to bring these one out. But one little adjustment I see right here that we could make is, as you see right here, it looks like this isn't kind of like a perfectly straight line, so we could get that little arrow, get the little pen tool and just sort of adjust those to make them a little bit straighter. And that's sort of some of the adjustments that you have available to you when you're actually using a repeater effect, because it will mimic the first one. And this is good or bad in some situations, right? For example, on the other side, if we were to create all of these from scratch and then we noticed there was an adjustment that needed to be made, we'd have to go individually and do that adjustment to each individual one, opposed to being able to do it to some sort of master one right here, and then have all of these sort of just kind of mimic it, if you will, and overall just save us a little bit of time. But overall, that right there is an exercise. If you followed through, you are left with the exact same thing I'm left with, the hazard warning arrows in composition number 5. We're going to be coming up next with 3D shapes, and it's about to get very interesting.
Oh shit, 3D?
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the
PC's about to fucking hell.
Solid section. We're going to be doing the 3D effects.
Oh
3D
god.
shapes. How do we do them? Very, very simple. So to actually grab the 3D look in your next coming up project, all you got to do is actually start by, of course, creating a composition. But be careful when creating it, because if we go up here to new composition, we got to go over here to 3D rendered. That's the crucial part to go to. Now, it's currently on Cinema 4D for me, which is the one that you want, but for you it actually might be on default on Classic 3D. So make sure to tick Classic 3D and go over here and select Cinema 4D. This just gives you more extensive 3D options in the program.
More ways to crash your computer.
This one up right here, and we're greeted with a project right here. So first off, the type of effect I want to do is going to be using the ellipse tool, and it's actually going to be sort of like a cylinder effect, right? So I actually want to create an ellipse, right? So if you guys want to follow through exactly with what I'm doing, let's go ahead and create an ellipse right here. And of course, it's replicating the exact same colors from our warning arrows exercise that we did previously. And I just want to, instead of ticking the color, I want to click the word fill. Click the word fill. Now let's actually click the little none option, because what this does is it enables us to have a empty ring, if you will. And we can actually tone up the
Elden Ring?
Tone that up right there. And what
or
we're
nah.
left with is this kind of
Or nah, we
right
just
here.
just ring.
Base layer that we're going
Just
to
ring.
customize next. Now, it's actually going to blow your mind how quickly you can get from a 2D object to a 3D object. It's not hard at all, and all it requires you to first off do is go down here and tick this box. This right here, if we hover over it, is the 3D layer. Allow this layer to be manipulated in 3 dimensions. That's their little tag that they give you. If we tick this box, instantly it's a 3D layer. However, it's not extruded. So if we actually start moving this around, you notice that
Extruded?
it's still a flat 2D layer. It's not like a
No substance.
it is 3D, but it's not like a beefier 3D, I guess. It's sort of like a flat 2D.
It's not thick.
It hasn't really come to life fully yet. And that's why you want to go here to the geometry options and then the extrude depth. Now if we actually put this up to 50,
Extrude
for
depth.
example, and start moving this around, as you see, it starts to go out a little bit.
Yeah, how do I move
There's
this?
still something else that we have to do to fully see the effect, and that's here to go up here to layer, go to new, and we actually just want to put a light into the sequence. A light, what a light does, before we create it, let me just give a bit of explanation, is it introduces shadows to the actual project, meaning that there's a light source, which means that we can actually see angles, we can see actually the shape come into light.
How do I move?
So if we press OK, it creates a light, and let's actually just bring X or Z rather back a little bit, so we have a nice light on it. Let's actually load that extrusion depth up a fair bit more.
How do you move it?
Now, if we press W to rotate, and we start to rotate the effect right here, we notice that we have a full 3D shape that's been created in minutes. Absolutely minutes. What do you guys think of that? If I wasn't
yeah, actually looks clean as fuck.
I would have had this effect created in
I'm gonna raise it a bit more.
So the fact you can get
then
from a 2D shape to a 3D
add
shape in under a minute is absolutely crazy. Now it's
add the light.
because it's on full. But if we turn this down a quarter, we can actually rotate this around 3 dimensions. And just like that, we've created this 3D
look at this
type effect. In
the
fact,
Elden Ring
we could even bring the extrusion depth up
Pog.
more and make a full-blown cylinder right there. And even have a maybe an introduction where it comes through this tube or
nah,
something like that,
cylinder's
whatever the case may be.
too
And
wide.
of course, it's revolving around this center point right here. And you can snap it back to the middle by just holding shift, right? So if you're going crazy
really?
and then you just hold shift, it will snap back to various different dimensions. I'll hold the shift to snap from different angle
Wait, what?
to angle, right? Let's bring it back
Oh,
to the
shift.
middle. And more or less what we could even do.
Did it work or am I tripping?
Scale where,
Oh,
it
he's
scales
right.
through the particular effect, right?
But it's
It
like
scales
closest.
through
Yeah.
and
Okay.
in some sort of cool three-dimensional sequence right there. But overall, that right there is the basics of your standard 3D shapes in Adobe After Effects. Now what we're going to do next is a very cool exercise. It's actually going to be creating a 3D effect, a fake 3D effect, which is going to be explored using a globe, and that's what we got coming up next. But we've done a brief introduction to 3D layers, and right now, of course, you could do any 3D layer as well, right? So if for example we just want to undo this, bring that kind of back to the center a little bit, and we'll just create one more just to further confirm it, right? So if we go up here and we actually just maybe get a rectangle, and we actually just create a rectangle right here, and even we bring the stroke off and we just get the fill back on, maybe we do like a dark red or something like that, right? I kind of like that. We tick the actual 3D box on, then we get geometry options and we turn the extrude up to 100, and then we maybe untick the shape layer and drag this below the spotlight. If we actually start rotating this around, we've got ourselves a 3D box. However, if we really want to bring this up to be an actual full-blown box, we'd probably extend the extrusion up a little bit, and just like that, we have a 3D box. However, I want to just bring this to the center a bit, and I want to just go ahead and get that rotation center point, right? That anchor point at the moment is way over indeed. In fact, holding Y and bringing that just to the center right here would probably be a good idea. So then, when we actually even hold Y again, bring it over again, we've got a relatively centered point, and just like that, we've made a 3D.
The hell did I just do?
And we've also been able to make a 3D.
What is this?
However, the light is not doing the best right now. So what we could do is actually just bring that out a nice amount. And
This must be lagging like crazy on the stream.
Intensity a little bit so that we could see.
Holy
a little
fuck.
bit more. Maybe even bring the angle probably over a little bit, and just like that. Radius. Yeah. Overall, you guys are probably latching on to what I do. It's pretty much just tweak around the effect until it looks nice. You never quite know what's going to look good until you try it out, and that's pretty much my philosophy.
Extrusion depth seems to be like the main thing here,
See how it applies to your
which is
particular
definitely.
this brief demonstration here, we've created a 3D box.
I mean, that's pretty much all you need. Just the extrusion depth and some sort of light, and you'll be fine.
That we've been able to create in in under 5-10 minutes, something like that. So we're gonna come back in a second with more 3D shapes in the shapes and solids section of the Adobe After Effects Masterclass course. See you guys in the coming up episodes. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Adobe After Effects Masterclass course. We're continuing on the shapes and solids section. This right here is the fake 3D effect. So we explored the real 3D effect. We just went over it. I broke down 2 different examples. We showed off the cylinder.
We're actually getting pretty close to where I left it off.
What's this, right? The stroke And
There's like 3 more hours to go.
Very small. We can make it
Nothing much. Just 3 more hours. Just 3 more hours.
Even the fill could be turned on if we really wanted to. As you can see right here, now we've got not a hollow object anymore. We've got it's sort of this green in the middle type of situation. I'm just gonna press Control Z to undo that right there. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a brand new sequence, and I'm gonna show a fake 3D effect. Fake 3D effect is a little bit less computer intensive. As you notice here, we've had to keep the quality on quarter based on the simple fact that if it's on full, it just can't process it as quickly. As you see, it's sort of rendering a little bit late opposed to if we're on quarter. It, it renders live pretty much based on the fact that it can process it. So 3D is an advanced shape, an advanced layer. Don't get me wrong, but let's go up here to composition. Let's go to new composition. And let's actually go over and just make a brand new composition like this. Again, make sure it's Cinema 4D. Let's press OK. And pretty much what we want to do is I'm going to grab a layer that I've got, and we're going to try and fake a 3D globe. So I'm going to bring in the world map. Now I'm going to let you guys download this in the next section, all right? And we'll further confirm this. But I want to bring this.
I need to pause this. We're almost done. Jesus Christ, almost done for today. Okay. I need to confirm if I still have the map or not. Although you don't literally need it. Okay, I do. All right. If you're watching this on a replay, maybe download one of the world maps off of Google, and you'll be pretty good.
Drop it into our sequence, right? Just like that. We'll turn it up to full. We've got this world map. The world map is a flat image. It's all across the screen. And
put that in graphics.
Based on how simple
Solids.
it is, right?
What the fuck?
So we can go up
what
here,
is this?
And what I want you guys to actually have a look for, right, is the
What about the solids folder?
Sphere effect. We type in CC sphere.
Question mark?
And I'm dragging it over, and we drop it on, just like that. We've created a sphere, and we can actually go ahead and actually scale that up a little bit, just like that. Or in fact, if we undo that, we can bring the radius up a little bit. And then
CC sphere.
Actually go ahead and open up the rotation. We have a fully rotatable 3D effect.
Look at this shit.
It genuinely does appear to be a 3D.
Damn, this is like. Alright, there we go. There we go.
We can simply rotate throughout all the different axes and showcase the different parts of the globe. So I'm definitely not a geologist, right? But if we were to try and navigate somewhere, we could literally try and navigate there right now. It's a little bit confusing to the different axes, right? But as you see right there, we're able to navigate pretty cool all throughout the globe. And we can actually go and maybe try and find somewhere. I don't know. Have a look. Is that the states down there? It is. So we found America, right? Right down there. That's Florida right down there. That's where
Florida.
But we've been able to navigate there just through using the
I don't think I could find. Hold on, because I've messed up the rotation. Say here, and then we can actually go. Almost got it. Hold on. Hey.
3D globe effect in a very
the Florids.
I mean, this is even quicker than
nobody calls it that, but you should. You should.
The real 3D effect is not a time-consuming process by any means, and the fake 3D effect is, definitely following this trend. But overall, that right there is the fake 3D effect done and dusted. This can be applied to any flat layer, right? So again, we just wanted to mess around and just maybe make a. I'm just having a look. We'll make a solid. The solid is maybe orange. You know what I mean? Make the solid. We call orange. We type some text here with say orange, right? Nice. We're really not searching too hard to find any craziness. And if we actually highlight both of these by holding shift, and then we actually go here and pre-compose, which basically that combines it into a sole layer, one layer. So we combine two layers to one, and we actually drag the CC sphere onto it, and maybe untick the globe, and then maybe turn up the radius. As you see right here, we have a object that appears to be 3D, and it says orange on it.
Wait, I actually did change it. What the hell?
All throughout it, and we've created this very cool sort of orange world effect right here. And overall, this can be applied to, like I said, literally any flat layer. I'm just gonna
pre-compose. What the hell was it? Pre-compose.
Like I said, I was born down there in Florida, but if we rotate over, I'm now living in England, which is
white.
Here, I think. To be honest, I really just exposed myself that I don't know much about geography, because I wouldn't be surprised if it's not even there. But overall, thank you guys.
Can I make
for
it bigger?
seeing
I
this particular
can.
episode, the fake 3D effects.
There we go.
I hope you had a laugh at the end there at my bad geography skills. Or actually, I might have. I'm just gonna give myself the benefit of the doubt. That's England. It's England.
White.
I spotted it, and that right there is America. And
On
we can
blue.
navigate there simply through rotating using the CC sphere effect. Which, if we delete the CC sphere, it's literally
Might be
just
colorblind.
a map that's a flat image. But if we press Control Z and bring the sphere effect back, we have a 3D effect that we created in a matter of minutes. I'll see you guys in the upcoming exercise. See you there. Alright guys, welcome back to the Adobe After Effects Masterclass course. We're continuing on the shapes and solids section, and we're actually going to be finalizing it with an exercise. This is building a custom sequence with multiple 3D shapes, and we're going to kind of flex all the knowledge we've gathered in the shapes and solids section. And what I want to do is combine the 3D effect with the fake 3D effect. So first off, I'm very passionate about bringing us through on the same page. So I want to actually go ahead and make sure to keep you guys on the same page, right? So first off, let's actually just go ahead and put delete world map, and let's actually delete comp number 6, and let's also bring comp 6 into compositions, and pre-comp we can go ahead and delete as well. Alright, so I want to actually go over here, and you guys need to download the world map from the resources. You could just watch if you want, but ideally it definitely confirms the information in your mind a little bit heavier if you apply what I'm doing as well, and you kind of follow along. And I think that's the purpose of these
This might be the last exercise, considering it's like 153.
For the purposes of you retaining the information,
But we'll see.
better. I think if you do it, you're more likely to actually.
I leave it halfway. I leave it exactly at like 2 hours.
Download the world map in the resources section. Let's drag and drop it. Let's import it to our sequence. And let's actually go ahead and first put it in graphics.
What comp is
Stay
this?
organized. And let's go up here to composition. Let's go to new composition. Let's go ahead and just press OK.
So he's just gonna delete composition 7.
Let's bring it in there. And of course we know we want to do the fake
Alrighty.
first. And my idea for this is we
You
type
got
in
it,
the
boss.
sphere, we drag and drop it on there, and just like that we've created the world. And then I want to get some real 3D effects and add some stars that are kind of rotating around.
Ooh, I
Just
remember
trying to
this.
build a galaxy, if you will.
Oh shit, hold on. CC sphere. I get the radius a bit more. Alright, there we go.
We bring the radius up a little bit, and just like
A
that,
bit?
we brought the radius up. And then I want to actually go ahead and click and hold on the effects, and let's actually just make a star. And let's actually just build a little star right here. Just like
Star.
that. We're gonna build a star, and I think what I want to do is actually just turn the stroke off, and maybe get the fill and turn it to white.
Holy shit, what
Because
am I
at the end
doing?
of the day, I think stars are kind of white. They appear white. I guess they might be yellow, whatever the case.
This is
may
gonna
be.
lag though,
We
keep
can
in
go to
mind.
the last section that I'm definitely not a geologist.
This one is the laggiest
I'm
exercise.
definitely not an astrophysicist either.
Astrophysicist.
So at the end of the day, we're actually gonna do that. Now I just want.
Alright, let's change some stuff here.
The point of the anchor point rather. So the point that is gonna rotate around, because that's what we're gonna be doing, and just drag that right there. And now what I want to do is I want to animate this, and I want to animate this over the course of probably about 5 seconds, right? So what I want to do is I want to actually go ahead and get the world map, open up the rotation, and actually just go ahead and tick, tick, and tick. So what we've done is we've turned keyframes on for the actual effect, which means that in 5 seconds we've told the program that these are the specifications that we want it to end on. And then we can scroll to the beginning, and we can actually just do a rotation here, and then also a rotation here, and have the map start
Hold
right
on.
over
I'm stupid.
here. And that
1,
means that we are
2,
actually
3.
gonna, when we press spacebar to play, we have animated
1,
this
2,
globe right here,
3.
and it's actually going to be doing a rotation
There
over
we
the
go.
course of 5 seconds. Now, looking
Sick.
at it right now, I'm starting to think 5 seconds isn't enough. We should do a little bit more. So if we want to adjust that, we can actually open up the world map, open up effects, open up CC sphere, and open up the rotation. And just like that, we've revealed the keyframes that are presented themselves to us. And what we can
Where are
actually
they?
do is we can drag and drop those over.
Should
to
be
maybe 10
rotation.
seconds, for example.
There we go.
And just like that, if we snap those there,
10
press play,
seconds.
we have
It's
a
already
world
starting
in
to
rotation.
lag. Hold on, let me put the
rotating
endpoint
relatively
here.
slowly, but I think, you know, nobody
There
said
we go.
that the world rotates too fast. But what I could do is I could go to the beginning, and I could just, I could do maybe a little bit more to these effects, I think. So
Nah,
if we give this a play, or in fact,
it's good as is.
maybe even a little
It's
bit
good
more
as
than
is,
that.
bro.
If we
Good
give
as
this a
is.
play, we actually have this effect where the globe is rotating relatively fast now over the course of a 10-second period, and we have sort of faked the 3D effect. And as you see, the it rotates a little bit strange, that's for sure. It's rotating in a little bit of a weird manner. So I think what I might do is I might just go ahead and delete these right here, and feel free to do your own rotation, right? But for me, I'm just going to rotate up a little bit and rotate over there a little bit, or maybe over there a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So now we've got this effect that is just rotating, and it looks a little bit more real now. See, I'm sort of a little bit stuck on wanting to create a relatively realistic rotation effect. And just like that, we've got this world that's rotating around, and then we can actually want to focus a little bit of attention on stars. Now the stars are a little bit different because what we got to do is tick 3D layer, and also open it up here. Oh, my bad. I ticked the world map 3D layer. We want to go up here to the shape, tick the 3D layer, go to geometry options, and make sure that it's sticking out a little bit. And also, we want to go up here to layer new, and go ahead and make a light. The reason we want to make that light is to actually get that star right there being, you know, 3D lit up, which means that when we actually start to rotate it around, which as you see we're doing right there, which we can actually turn the extrusion down a good fair bit, we're actually going to have these 3D stars that are rotating around in our universe, if you will. We can actually just snap these to the center. Snap them to the center. Ooh. Snap to the center. Phenomenal. And I might just click the fill, and I might just see what a linear gradient's looking like. And what we can actually do with a linear gradient, click it, we can actually select white, maybe there, and then maybe the final effect, just delete that right there. Cancel, go here, and actually select the final effect to be maybe kind of like a yellowish.
So white to yellow gradient.
Like a pretty light
Gradient.
yellow. And also what I want to do is get the spotlight.
White to yellow.
You know what, I think that's looking okay, and I think also I probably want to turn that yellow maybe down a bit, so we can drag that white over, so that the yellow is sort of just like a final
There we go.
tinge to it, opposed to being a predominant color. And then what we can do is we can actually go here to the shape, and I want to actually duplicate it, right? So I want to actually duplicate it, but first what I want to do before that is I want to do some actual animation to it. So let's open up the transform, and let's actually turn on the orientation keyframe. Turn it on right here, which means we've told the program at 000 the orientation is all these properties here. And then we can actually go over to maybe about 2 seconds and bring it over a little bit.
Okay.
Then we can maybe go to
So shape layer, orientation. Let's set a keyframe 2 minutes.
maybe 6 seconds. Bring it over a little bit
Set
more,
it
just
here.
change the rotation of it a little bit more.
Change it
As
here.
you see, the keyframes are being created, so if we start playing this, we're probably gonna have to play it
Over
to
here.
actually play it relatively quickly. We've got a
And
star
like over
that's
here.
rotating around. And
It's quote unquote rotating around. I mean, yeah, I guess.
And have these rotations happening every
Oh, this
2
is
seconds.
crazy laggy
We've
though.
got a star, the first one, which is animated in this
Holy
kind of
shit,
3D
alright.
universe that we're actually looking at right here. And it's very
I wish it could run just like the video. Look at this. You can't even notice it's moving, but it's moving.
indeed.
It's moving.
Just like that, we've actually animated that over the course
And it's
of
not
6
even
seconds.
quarter either.
We
It's
can
not even
actually
like
just
the
go
quality.
to, maybe the 10-second mark now, and we could actually just do one final rotation. And
I wish it were that smooth.
successfully stars that rotate around. Of course, it's only one star at the moment, but all we got
Only
to do
one
is start
star.
duplicating stuff to actually create this.
Alright, we're at the two hour mark. Pretty good. Pretty good for today. I muted there, but Let me raise up this real quick. I think the previous one was pretty good. Which one is a good one? Yeah, this one isn't bad. Alright, sick. Yeah, that's like a great place to end it. Right at the 2 hours mark. So we know it's at 2 hours. But let's see. For tomorrow, I want to get some stuff done. So I'm gonna do up till the 3 hour mark. And also do some work on... I want to work on some of the updates, some of the things I actually want to add to the overlay that is currently missing. Currently want to add like a chat title to the top of the chat just to make it clear. At the moment it's just a square until somebody types, and then you can obviously notice it's like a chat, and then the different camera views here, like for when I switch, you know which one is which. Actually, looking at it now, it looks like my the project actually rendered, so the rotation is actually pretty smooth now. Thankfully, looks like it's good now. It actually looks decent. I'm gonna put the endpoint like right here and just have it like looping while I speak. I don't think there's too much else I want to add. So I want to add like commands and stuff, more relevant features. Features? Yeah, I guess you could call it features. Just make it easier, make this whole process easier. So I'll be working on that tomorrow on stream. Just so I don't, so I could do it with the editing. Once I'm done with the editing, switch to that. Which I don't think should be too much of a hassle, but yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Lesson 3 tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure what we'll be covering. Take a sneak peek. Text, animations, text. Yeah, animation and text. And then there's actually a template here. I do think you have to download. I'm gonna download that for tomorrow and make a video, text, 3D text. Yep, be taking a look at text, and it says here text and titles. All right, yeah, that's for tomorrow. Making some decent progress. So like as a quick review of what we covered, let me see. I don't remember. So new, no, not solids. If we go to new, it's just like, not in this comp. I am not doing this in this comp. Let's do comp 4. All right. So if we take a random shape, for example, this one, let me get rid of this. It's actually kind of distracting. Different kind of animations here. Merge pass, offset pass, park and blow, repeater, round corners, trim pass, twist, wiggle pass, wiggle transform, zigzag. The one we covered was repeater, but you can't really. I think it'd be better if you can actually hold on, transform. So you move it here. No, it's offset 1. So you offset it by 1, and then you switch the position with the, well, you can't really see the number of copies. If I added a stroke, you should be able to see it. There we go. Now you can see it. Yeah, with the stroke you can, but yeah. And then not exactly sure why it's not showing up. Was it this one? Oh, that's actually kind of... This wasn't the effect that I was trying to go for, but... I mean, hey. Not bad. Because this is actually like if you were... It looks like as if you were in a room. Like like an optical illusion. So not bad. That wasn't even what I was trying to do, but I'll take it. Cool little thingy there. What else did we cover? Shape properties, shape and solid effects, custom shape, 3D. Alright, yeah, then just the 3D, I guess. Just tick the 3D box. Has its own options. Extrusion depth, which is the... I need to get rid of the repeater effect. Extrusion depth, which is the width, and then to actually see it, press W, rotate it, and then you can actually see the depth there. There's also different ways of doing this, but for now that's the main way. What you do then is you also add like a light. I don't know why I close that. Add like a light right here. Make it like gray. White is fine. White is fine. Exactly. Then you could change like the light effects. I'm gonna rotate this real quick. As you can rotate, you could obviously see how the light reflects on the rectangle here, which is pretty neato. There's also like a fake effect which you could do if you add it to here. I think I have to get rid of that. Perfect. Yeah, CC sphere. There's also another one I don't quite remember what it's called. It's like CC something else, but that's not too relevant. Oh, I don't even know. I don't know what I did, but this actually looks quite interesting. It's like a... Hold on. Reminds me of something. If I could just flip it the right way. Yeah. It's like a Pac-Man, I guess. I don't know what it reminds me of. Reminds me of something. So how do I actually... I thought I'd be able to like rotate it, maybe W and then... Yeah, it just like screws it up. Alright, let's just leave it at that. That's pretty much everything. Small recap. Text and titles tomorrow though. Let me save it. Sick. I shall see y'all tomorrow then for text and titles. Peace.